Professional Development Facilitator meeting. Thank you for joining us. This session is being recorded and will be posted the first of next week, hopefully. I will send out a link once it is available on the statewide site to anyone that would need to leave prior to the end of the meeting or for those who cannot attend this morning. I want to just kind of jump right in and get us started because we do have 3 presentations and I want to make sure they each feel they have enough time to do their full presentation. So the first presentation we have today is going to be on virtual client engagement. April Gilman was with us for the statewide webinar earlier this month, and she was talking about virtual client engagement. And so I thought I'd spend just a quick minute reviewing how we access the virtual client engagement. And then April has been gracious enough to join us again this morning, and she's going to do a live demo so that you can actually see how to access the virtual client engagement. So Access Indiana is one of Governor Holcomb's next level agenda items. It is a secure state-sanctioned site that anyone in Indiana can, any resident or other, can access and set up an account so that they can securely and confidently access different state agencies and departments within the state of Indiana. It is a single-use dashboard, so you can go, once you have an account set up, anyone can go directly to Access Indiana and then access other items from there. So you can, this is just a quick intro of the initial pages for the Access Indiana, just to familiarize anyone in adult education that does not already have an Access Indiana account. And if you don't, I highly recommend setting up one for yourself first, so that as you're helping your students be able to set up that initial engagement with Work One, virtual engagement with Work One, you will have a sound familiarity with Access Indiana and then be able to help your students securely and comfortably create their own account. So for example, if you can see there in the top row there on the third tile is the Bureau of Motor Vehicles. So I have an Access Indiana account, and when I need to renew my license or my license plates, I can go through my Access Indiana account, click on the BMV title, and it will take me securely to that location. Other options are the down in the bottom row, third one over, is the register to vote. So if I have not been registered to vote, Tuesday is the upcoming primary election. And so I would be able to access through Access Indiana to the registration to vote. I'm not sure if I could do that today and then still be able to vote on Tuesday, but for future reference, if somebody, you have a student who's turning 18 and they don't know how to register to vote, you can help them go through their Access Indiana account and register to begin voting once they've reached age of majority. And then, of course, the top column again, second one over, is our virtual client engagement. And that is what April is here to talk to us about again today. She is going to do a demonstration. She's with the Department of Workforce Development she's a director of WIOA Title I. And she is going to share her screen and do a demonstration so that as an adult education instructor, you will be able to help your students set up an Access Indiana account and then arrange for that virtual client engagement with their Work One so that they can receive supportive services, not just through adult education, but also through their local Work One. So April, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and let you take over.
Thank you so much, Amy. I appreciate your letting me jump in here for a couple minutes and show you this wonderful tool that we have for our citizens here in Indiana. Let's get my sharing going on here. Everyone can see my screen, right?
Yes.
All right, great, wonderful. One real quick thing I want to show you. If you don't find those tiles within the Access Indiana, just, there could be a lot there. If you go to in.gov/DWD, which is DWD's homepage, the very first thing you're going to see on here is the virtual tool, the virtual client engagement, booking an appointment, and it takes you directly to there. So it's the very first thing on DWD's home website. So just wanted to throw that out there as well with other resources DWD has to offer. All right, so here is the VCE portal. All these little options, these buttons down here are links to take you to various web pages, scheduling an appointment, finding your nearest work one, if you have unemployment questions. This little feature right here is kind of neat. It's a contact us feature, and you don't have to have an account to be able to ask a quick question. Say you need help with virtual client engagement, or you want to be able to find a job, you don't know where to start, or whatever the case may be. You can click on that contact us feature and just send a quick chat, quick message to our virtual services team, and they will get you to the correct individual that'll be able to help answer that question for you if they aren't able to do it themselves. So it's just a quick way to be able to contact someone quickly without having to schedule an appointment and go in depth. So they're not going to be able to go in depth and, tell you everything you need to know. That's what you have to schedule an appointment for. And in order to be able to do that, I'm going to kind of walk you through here real quick. Up here in the upper right-hand corner, or right here where schedule a virtual appointment, you're going to click sign in. And then you're going to twirl your thumbs for a few minutes. And then it's taking you to the Access Indiana website, kind of like what Amy was just explaining. So then you're going to put in your email address that you used to sign up. You're going to, there we go. Click continue, put your password in, click sign in, and twirl your thumbs a few more minutes. And now as you see up here, it doesn't say sign in anymore. You're actually logged in. This is my test, my fake person. So please excuse the kind of goofy looking name up here. But this is my fake site. So it kind of going to act a little bit different. But when you first log in, it's actually going to take you to my appointments page. And on the my appointments page, if you have used this site in the past, it will have all your appointments that you have had in the past, that you've scheduled virtually, all your appointments that you may have coming up once we get done twirling our thumbs here. So it has all your different appointments listed, what your meeting was about, the location that you scheduled it at, when it was, all that fun stuff. Another little thing here, say this, this one hasn't happened yet on 5/5. Over here in this little arrow that points down, if you realize you can't make that appointment on 5/5, just hit that little drop down arrow and you can cancel your appointment right then and there, right? It's super easy to cancel the appointment. And then you'll go back through these steps that I'm getting ready to show you to schedule another appointment to when your client or yourself or whoever is able to make it. After you have signed in, if it's a new Access Indiana account, all the information should be correct. If you notice that one of um, your clients have an Access Indiana account from a while ago, you just want to make sure that their contact information is up to date. And in order to be able to do that, you're just going to click on their name again and then click on profile. And then we're going to twirl our thumbs a few more minutes. And you're just going to make sure that all this information is correct, because Access Indiana uses a geolocation services to let them know where their nearest work one is, because they're not going to know. And it's something simple that we can do to help them out in that instance. So after all this information is updated, click save. They're not going to let me because I don't have that updated, but do as I say, not as I do, right? So then we're going to click on book appointment. And this is where they'll schedule their appointment with a Work One representative. Every Work One is represented within this system. Now, depending on the day and time of the scheduled appointment will be whether or not someone is available. We try to have someone available at all times, but there's times where there will be instances where people aren't available, unfortunately. So the first few questions, the very first question is, have you served in the United States military? So, yes or no. If you say yes, it's going to automatically get you scheduled with the DVOPS, the Disabled Veteran Outreach Program. If not, for today's instance, we're just going to leave it as no. And then the next one is, are you needing unemployment insurance assistance? If you say yes on this, you can't go any further because unfortunately the work ones cannot give you any unemployment insurance help. They cannot answer any of those questions. They don't allow that. But it does take you to, if you click on this link, it does open up the UI website for any kind of questions that you might have. But for today's purpose, we're going to just say no. So the next thing they need to do is they need to select, why do they need this meeting? Do they want to find job? Do they want to find training? What is it they need help with? What do they need to talk to a work on rep for? Say they need to find training. And right now it says you have to select a appointment type. It is virtual. So yeah, it seems a little redundant, but we're hopefully being able to bring this forward to scheduling in-person appointments, later on down the road. That's why we added that little feature there. And the next one is your office. So again, here's where it says the work one centers are displayed nearest to your distance to your profile address. There's where the geolocation comes in. And if you remember, the address that I had in that profile says Lafayette, Indiana. And so the very first one that you see on here is Lafayette. So then it spiders out from there, from the closest to this physical address. Then they're gonna select on their work one that they want to schedule for. And then they're going to select the date. What date are they available to meet with someone? So the way the virtual appointments work is you cannot schedule anything for within the next 24 hours. Obviously, we don't work on Saturdays, so the next time that they can actually schedule an appointment will be Monday at 10:30. So let's go ahead and jump over there and see if we can schedule an appointment with someone. And then they select their date, they select their time, and then they can either, if they know someone that works there, they can select a name, or if we will choose a case manager equipment for you. What the system will do is they will look for this feature here, this office, the date and the time, and then choose one of these individuals for them. So so they don't feel a little, intimidated by all these different names. So then they can do the choose case manager for you, or they can choose a person. Put in their phone number, and then click book appointment. Then we twirl our thumbs. It tells me to be patient. One thing I don't have is patience very often. So any questions so far? Pretty simple. Once this actually goes through, it'll pop back up onto their My Appointments page. The Work One representative will get an email that says that so-and-so scheduled an appointment with them. And the client will get an email as well. And on that email is going to have a Teams meeting link. So the day of the appointment, they will then go in and click on that link to join the meeting. All right, it says your submission is pending. Typically it happens already. So if we click back onto My Appointments, you'll see the appointment that we just scheduled on the 12th at 11 a.m. is already there. And that, in a nutshell, is how a client would schedule a virtual appointment. Then the day of the appointment, they would click on their Teams link. They would meet with their Work One representative and just ask whatever questions they need. If this person was needing to find training, what is it about the training? What is it you want to know? They'll be able to answer anything. So, any questions on that? That's all I have, Amy. So I will let you take it away. I'm always here to help. So if anybody has any questions, please feel free to reach out.
Thank you so much, April. I
You're welcome.
appreciate that. Does anyone have any questions? Feel free to, since April has to jump off and go to another meeting. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to unmute right now and ask them to her. Or if you come up with a question later on, her email is in the slide deck that will go out this afternoon. So you can reach out to her that way as well. Okay, I don't think we have any questions. So let's go on to Polly. Polly Redmond is here to present for us this morning. Polly is currently the director of Heinz Adult Education through Elwood Schools. She has over 30 years experience in adult education and has served as a teacher, professional development facilitator, and director, often all at the same time. She has helped develop the first professional development for adult education paraprofessionals in Indiana and was a past IAACE board member and has presented at both IAACE and COAID. Polly believes that both students and staff should continue to learn every day. So, Polly, I will let you take it away.
Thanks, Amy. Hi, everyone. It's nice to be here to help present. So, a number of years ago, um, I was sending out emails to my staff who we cover 3 counties. So, of course, the only way to effectively communicate with my staff is electronically. Um, having centralized meetings like those programs who are all in one location, that just doesn't work when you're covering 3 counties because people don't want to drive half an hour to a meeting. But I was sending out emails, and like everybody else, you send out 4 or 5 a week, maybe 6. If it was a really busy time of year, I'd be reminding people, hey, get your students signed up for graduation. Don't forget to post test people. And my staff wrote back and said, could you put all this in one format to communicate? Okay, I can do that. And so for a few months, I struggled with putting it in either Microsoft Publisher or Microsoft Word. It took a lot of formatting. It took just a lot of time. And so my life coach at the time said, hey, Anderson Schools uses this app called Some More. It's really cheap for an education account. And I think you'd really like it because it formats itself. Within a few minutes, you can have a newsletter that looks absolutely professional um, with very little work. So, Amy, if you go ahead to the next slide, I'll show you the prices before I go on into. On the right, you'll see the header of one of my newsletters, and it really does do easy communication. And it's on somemore.com, just like the thing you toast marshmallows and eat around the campfire. So Amy, go ahead and go to the next slide, please. And as you can see, you can get a 2-week free trial on this to try it. I get a basic educator account every year at $79. We only get one login, but either my leadership team sends me what they want in the newsletter, or I just share my login because all they're going to do is write on the newsletters. If you're interested in using this to send out to your students and you have a high ESL population, like many of us in the state do, if you do the $149 a year, you still only get one login. However, it has translation capabilities. So the people you send that newsletter to can click and choose their language, and that way it has that translation. You can get some more for Teams, which will let you do multiple logons. It'll let everybody put their own stuff into shared documents. However, the smallest plan they have is $999 a year. That doesn't actually work for our budget. So let me go ahead and show you what Some More looks like. And I'm going to take control of that. Okay. So when you log into Some More, at least once you start having newsletters, you can see all of the newsletters you've had. So to start a newsletter, let's say I'm going to start one from scratch. Now, I don't usually start one from scratch. Usually I start one from a template I've made. But if you start one from scratch, I can just say I want it for class. I can type in what I want here. Usually I put a date on these. I tell it I'm done. And then I can go through, I can add pictures to it. I can click on this, I can change the title, our text. Doesn't want me to let me get out because I hadn't put anything in. You can add pictures to it. They do need to be JPEGs, but that's really JPEGs, or there's another, I think it's PNGs, but those are super easy to get. As you can see, there's all different kinds of things you can add. As you see the plus signs, if I want to add a section to it, I can add a section to this. I can add maybe a title. Let's try that again without hitting the return. The title, will just make it big. Don't forget to post test in May, which many of our programs are doing. If I want to, I can add URLs to it. You'll see at the bottom, you've got a contact place for your email, your phone number, the address, your website, pictures. Now, this is if you start from scratch. What I'd recommend you do is the first time, start from scratch. After that, I'm going to recommend that you use a template and then just duplicate. Let me show you what I mean. So I told it to publish, so now it's saving. I go into my newsletters, and you'll see I have Heinz Adult Ed News Master. So this is the master that I use, and I just tell it I want to duplicate it. Yep, I really do want to duplicate it. Now, it comes up with just kind of a generic background and title. So I don't want to use the same background and title every month. I like to have interesting things. And so we have Cinco de Mayo coming up next week. You can see there's a whole lot of backgrounds I can choose from. I'm going to choose a very colorful background for next week. I want to change the header color. Let's take it a nice bright orange for Cinco de Mayo. And I'm going to take off the word master. I'm going to put on 5/4/2023 because my newsletters go out on Thursdays. And this newsletter is now set up that I have my headers in for all of our leadership team so they can get on. You'll notice at the bottom, we have our resources. So these are all clickable. Click that I'm done there. These are all clickable resources. So like if we want to go to Amplify AE, we can go to the Amplify AE. So it makes it easy for my staff to find things. I've got IAACE linked, I've got COABE linked, I've got HiSET linked, Hamilton County Work One workshops, because they always send me their workshops. So if any students want that, there's our scope and sequence for all the books we have, our address, all of that. So now it's set up. So as I think of things I want to tell my staff, I can easily log in, I can edit, I can put in new things that I want to put in. So during the week, I think of something I want to add, I add a little paragraph, and then I hit publish and go back out. My leadership team, as I said, I share my login with them. Let me show you a couple of the newsletters that we've done. I'll show you some that are, here we are. So this is from January. Now you're seeing my editor's screen. So you can see though, I've got welcome, help wanted, I need an ESL teacher. I put down about stay at State House, GED versus HiSET, since this was right after that happened. Nancy put in notes, our lead teacher put in the JMath code for February, our PDF put in a reminder. There's information from the state on putting in social security numbers and our resources. If we go a little bit farther forward, now you'll notice, for those of you who know me, this looks like me. And Amy asked me to tell you that Bitmoji, you can make look like you, and then you can theme it. So if I click, and I've got Bitmoji, I've added the Chrome extension. So if I click on Bitmoji, and there's recently used ones, but I can decide I want happy. I'll just put down happy. I can go here, I can right click, I can save the image and put it in. So it makes it really easy. Then we just click on the photo, on the blank photo, upload it from my folder, and it drops right in. To see what this looks like, if I go to the print or download, you can see what my staff sees. So they don't see all my editing tools around it. This is actually what they see. So we did a big thing on understanding our monthly reports. We had several new staff members who joined us in January. And so we wanted to make sure that they understood what our monthly reports are, where we send out our table 4 and 4B. And so we have this document. And again, we have our resources always at the bottom, so my staff knows they can click on those. I'm going to go back. One of the other nice things I like is I can click on Show Analytics that's here to the right. If I click on the email report, because mine all goes out on email, I can actually see who's opened it, what date they opened it, if they clicked on it to see another view of it. So you can see these were all delivered and all the staff members opened it. And I can look at that for every newsletter. And let me check my notes. Oh, mail lists also. I also have a mailbox list, so I automatically set up my ABE staff newsletter, and you can see that I got all of my staff in, and Amy and Jerry, because they asked me if I would share that with them, because they're kind of collecting newsletters from all of us to see what's going on in our programs. And I think that's it. Do you have any questions?
Please feel free to unmute and turn your camera on if you would like to ask Polly any questions. The one thing I liked about Polly's newsletter, she had commented to me in the past, oh, it's so easy to use. And I know that particularly this time of year, we're overwhelmed with extra things that we need to be doing. So the fact that Polly had something that was easy to use and easy to access and affordable just struck a chord with me. So I thought, oh, we need to get this out to the local adult ed programs so that anyone wanting to start a newsletter or maybe find an easier way to do a newsletter would have the option of Polly's guidance and assistance in using S'more if they wanted to switch to or add S'more. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to unmute. Otherwise, Polly's information was on her intro slide, which will go out with the slide deck. Thank you so much, Polly, for sharing. If anyone has any questions, I'm sure they will send you an email or give you a quick call to help them get their S'more set up. So.
And I've turned it back over to you.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay. Next, if Liz, Gasoon, Ryan, and Christine will share your cameras, I would appreciate that. You can turn on your microphones. We have 4 staff members from CWI, Center for Workforce Innovations, up in the north, joining us this morning, the northwest corner. Joining us this morning for some training they participated in. I believe it was back in January, Liz, correct? Was it January? Gosh, the time's gone by so quickly. Yeah, so in January. So I'm going to give a brief intro for each of them so everyone can become familiar with CWI. So Liz, or Elizabeth Brooks, feels so fortunate and delighted about being an adult education teacher in Northwest Indiana. She is a proud mom of 3 smart, funny, handsome sons. Every day, one can find her being grateful for, marveling at, and dancing with the Earth's flora and fauna, our place in the solar system, and all the people she knows and does not know yet. She earned her secondary English education license from Indiana University and has used it to teach in public, private, charter, and international schools. She has been an adult education teacher for 17 years, teaching ESL for 7 years concurrently. She is a level 1 Kundalini yoga teacher with a strong, sweet daily practice. Realizing what an honor it is to be a teacher, she strives to be in line, receive universal guidance to best assist, teach, encourage, and support her students. We also have Gasun Al-Tamimi. She is an experienced remote proctor with and a former student and instructional assistant at Valparaiso Adult Learning Center. Gasun has a bachelor's degree in computer science from Iraq with 9 years of experience as a computer teacher. In 2015, she joined CWI as a student and studied at the Valparaiso Adult Learning Center for 1 year as an ESL student. Then in 2016, Gasun got her first job in the USA as an instructional assistant with Valparaiso Adult Learning Center and has 3 years of experience in the field. As a remote proctor, Gasun is skilled in monitoring exams, ensuring academic integrity, and providing technical support to students. As a former student, Gasun understands the challenges that students face in today's academic climate. She is now a teacher in training with a strong work ethic, excellent communication skills, and a commitment to excellence. Gasun is passionate about helping students achieve their full potential. We also have Ryan Mack with us this morning. Ryan came to CWI Adult Education 6 years ago as an ELL instructor. A former comedian, his classes are popular as they are known for engaging topics alongside humorous instructional techniques. Ryan expanded his role over the years by offering ABE math instruction, becoming director of the CWI ESL department, and later taking on a management role within CWI AE team. And last but not least, we have Christine Carney. Christine not only has a master's, but an MBA and her PhD as well. So she is well-versed in education. She serves as the Center of Workforce Innovations in Valparaiso in a dual management role in apprenticeships and adult education. Her 20-year-long career in the nonprofit arena includes urban ministry, educational administration, and work-based learning program development. Christine's research interests include examining the processes which shape people's sense of belonging and how those beliefs impact employee engagement and retention within the organizational setting. In addition, she enjoys deep diving into developing strategies that help create a more inclusive workplace for people from all walks of life. Within her current role, Christine is passionate about finding ways to break down barriers that adult learners face, seeking to create transformative spaces that prompt movement toward success on the learner's journey to the best life for themselves and their families. I loved that part. When not engaged in work, you will likely find Christine traveling with her 7 children, ages 16, 15, 14, 11, 9, 4, and 2. Bless your heart. To destinations near and far, searching for unique experiences and delicious food. So welcome, Team CWI. And let's get going because I know you have some extremely important and wonderful information to share. So I will turn it over to you.
Good morning. Welcome. Our group with Miss Amy Raymer attended ESL SIA for 6 dates in January. There were about 50 participants from all over the U.S. with around 12 coaches to assist us in our small group breakout sessions. The training offered a mix of large and small group activities that focused on how to design instruction for English learners that address two critical needs simultaneously, language and content development. It was designed for teachers who work with ELs in English language acquisition programs or adult basic education. Next, please. New standards mean new demands. This means instruction in meaning-making language activities, which are best learned by working with complex and demanding reading materials in ESL and ABE class. English learners deserve to be prepared for college and careers, in addition to learning English. It is important that ESL lessons target both college and career readiness and English language proficiency standards. This represents a change from past years where life skills have been the focus. Next, please. Here are some student reviews.
Well organized. I received the material a month ahead. It was easy to communicate with organizer and coaches.
I felt so fortunate to have high quality coaches, materials, and resources. I appreciated the small group support.
Fantastic. Our small group coaches, Susan and Richmond, really helped us to grasp and use the content.
From the beginning welcoming emails, during the classes, and with follow-up communication, I felt supported and special. The course was taught with academic lexicon and rigor. I like the challenge as it has been a while since I was in a college course. Next, please. In all 3 weeks, there was a focus on how teachers can foster language, content development, and provide ESL and TABE literacy lessons with content-rich, complex texts. These are the standards in action. Next, please. In all 3 weeks' activities, there were multiple challenging instructional activities to learn, practice, and apply. It was very active and engaging. And a little promotional aspect here. There is another SIA ESL coming up starting next week, May 2nd. So there's still time to sign up. Once you see our presentation, you're going to go, I'm running to the door to sign up. Okay, and here we're going to hear from Miss Christine, Dr. Christine Carney.
Thank you.
Next,
Hey,
please.
so I'm gonna, next slide. I'm gonna share a bit about Google Jamboard. So it's a digital whiteboard that can be used for collaborative projects, ideal sharing, brainstorming, and it's useful for language learning. So the next few slides, you're gonna see one of the modules that we worked with during SIA training. So first of all, students were provided with instructions, as you see here on the screen. Note that, that it says in the Jamboard poster stage that the students were encouraged to use multiple representations in order to show how the recipe was used. So they were encouraged to use pictures, tables, graphs, equation, and so on. Next slide. This is the worksheet that the students were given to complete within their team, and that helps to provide them guidance on how to calculate the equations in the recipe. Next slide. And here you see the Jamboard that Team Indiana created. There are a few post-it notes that were critiques from other teams after we shared, but otherwise you can see the ways in which we designed the processes. And also know that there are some inconsistencies across the board as it was a collaborative effort. So there were a number of participants that were adding to the board. So when using a Jamboard, there are quite a few functions that you can perform. You can add a sticky note to write on. You can insert images, draw, erase, create shapes, add text, quite a few different things. And when thinking about ways that you could utilize Jamboard with ELL, some things that came to mind for me, I thought about doing it as a warm-up. You could pose a question, ask the students how they were doing that day, how they're feeling that day, and have them either grab an image online and post it onto the Jamboard, or maybe take a post-it note and jot down how they're feeling. You could also use it for KWL chart. You could do an annotation activity. You could take maybe a map, a painting, a historical photo, a diagram, and then have the students add details and make observations regarding the image that you shared with them. You could use it for a vocabulary word wall, also team activities. So if you're working online by Zoom with a remote class, then you could have them work in small groups. So it's so many ways that you can use Google Jamboard with ELL. And that is it for the Jamboard part of the presentation. So next on to Ryan, and forward slide, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. This is reading in 4 voices. This is a simple and highly effective exercise. You take a short text, break it up into 4 sets of lines so it can be read by 4 people together, a line or 2 at a time. And to make reading easier, you highlight the 4 parts. For example, the typed text, you try using plain, underline, italicized, or bold text, or however you prefer. The students will be assigned a highlighted part and take turns reading their parts only. And for best effect, the students will read multiple times, switching which parts they read. By taking the reading a few words at a time, students are able to identify trouble words and phrases more easily. They can parse apart a reading and bounce ideas about the meaning of the individual lines, creating a more focused reading environment. And ELL students often get lost in long readings. The more a text can be broken up, the simpler it becomes, and the more likely they are to understand it. Next slide, please. This is the Gettysburg Address and 4 voices. Does everybody remember their parts?
Yes.
Okay. All right, here we go. 74 years ago,
Our fathers brought forth on the continent a new nation,
Conceived in liberty
and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal.
now we are engaged in a great civil war.
testing whether that nation
for any nation so conceived and so dedicated.
can long endure.
We are met on a great battlefield that war.
We have come to dedicate a portion of that field
As a final resting place for those who have gave their lives.
that the nation might live.
It is altogether fitting
And prepare.
that we should do this.
But
In a larger sense,
we cannot dedicate
We cannot consecrate
We cannot hallow
this ground.
the brave men
living and dead
who struggled here have consecrated it
far above our poor power to add.
or detract,
The world will little note
nor long remember what we say here.
But it can never forget what they did here.
It is for us the living.
Rather to be dedicated here to the unfinished work,
which they who fought here have thus far so nobly advanced.
It is rather for us to be here dedicated to the great task remaining before us.
That from these honored dead,
we take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion.
that we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain.
That this
Italicized.
nation, under God,
Shall have a new birth of freedom,
And that government of the people, by the people.
For the people.
shall not perish from the earth.
Thank you. I think Kasun's up next.
Thank you, Ryan. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to my presentation. Today, I would like to share with you one of the strategies that we learned at the Standard in Action training that was in week 1. And I hope it's worth your time, and I think it would be beneficial to use it in our classroom. So the strategy is called the Jigsaw strategy. So next, please. So what is JICSA strategy? It's a cooperative learning strategy allows individual or small group to become responsible for a subcategory of larger topic. After researching and developing their idea, each individual or small group then has the responsibility to teach it to the rest of the group or class. Like pieces of the jigsaw puzzle, students fit their own individual chunk together to form a complete body of knowledge. Next, please. So to have an effective jigsaw, we have to to go through some steps. So for step 1, divide students into groups. These called home groups. Jigsaw work best when we have same number of students in each team. For example, we will assume that we are working with a class of 16 students who can divide evenly into groups of 4. Next, please. Step 2, divide the text into chunks. The text can be section of the textbook, chapter, handout, or online resources. It's important to divide the text into the same number of chunks as the number of students in each group. So for example, we have 4 students in each group, so we will break the text into 4 chunks. Next, please. Step 3, assign one chunk of the text to each student in the home group. Each group has one person responsible for one chunk of the text. That person will teach this chunk to the rest of the group. At this point, students don't really interact with the other members of their group. They just read and study their own chunk of the text independently. Next, please. Step 4, have students meet an expert group. After each student has studied her or his chunk of text independently, they gather with all other students who have been assigned to the same chunk. These are called expert group. In each expert group, students compare their idea and work together to prepare some kind of presentation to give it to their home group. Graphic organizer sheet can be used at this step to help students arrange and remember the information. Next, please. Step 5, return to home group. Now that students have studied their chunk in the expert group, they return to their original home group, where each student takes turn presenting their chunk of information, while other students listen carefully, take notes, pull facts from their text, and ask questions. Once the first expert is done, the other takes their turn. As each student teaches their chunk of the text, the other in the group are learning it. Next, please. Step 6, assess all students on all the content. Simple quiz, excuse me, to make sure all students get the basic understanding of all the text. Next, please, the teacher rule. Teacher can walk from group to group, answering questions and guiding all students toward correct solution. Teacher need to think very carefully about each group before it formed. Volunteer or instructional assistant can help with each small group. Next, please. Why we need to use JICSA? It's help build comprehension. It encourages cooperative learning among students. It helps improve listening, writing, speaking, communication, and problem-solving skills. It promotes the valuing of all students. And finally, direct engagement by the student with the material. So instead of having material presented to them in the JICSA reading, students are able to interact with the material directly, which foster depth of understanding. Finally, and simply, if we want to define the JICSA, it's 2 or more learners read different text and they tell each other about what they read. And thank you. Next to Liz.
Thank you, Gasoon. And everyone that's watching right now, you can see we worked so hard at these activities. There was not any downtime, and it was just fun, and we learned a lot. So welcome to the word cloud portion. So word clouds, and many times word clouds are used as large group anticipatory activities. Word clouds allow students to focus on the most prevalent words in a reading, and they can help them understand its meaning and the meaning of the text. Next, please. So, some benefits of using the word cloud: it highlights keywords from a reading. Students get internal success, leading to more engagement and willingness to learn more. When students find words they know, it can share with others. Predicting what the text is about gives students a reason for reading and engaging with the text. And a word cloud is not as intimidating as a traditional text. Next, please. So, word cloud previews are a fun way to learn what a large document, manual, or vocabulary unit is going to be about. So, here are some instructions and other strategies. Um, and we're going to try it right now. So, next, please. It's your turn, colleagues. So, the directions are: look at the copy of the Gettysburg Address word cloud on the next slide. The speech has 272 words, and most of the words are on this page. Think about why some words are bigger than others. Identify at least 3 words that jump out at you. What do these words show about the key messages in the speech? In the chat, please share one of the words you selected and tell us what the word means and why you chose it. I'm going to give you everybody about 35 to 60 seconds, and please feel free, just jump in and write in the chat. And here we go. Next slide, please. Okay, here it is. So there is our Gettysburg Address. Please write in the chat one word that jumps out at you and why it jumped out at you. What's the meaning that's making for you? Thank you.
Liz, would you like me to start reading them or would you like to wait to the end?
I think as they're coming in, I think Gasoon, you're going to read. Can you see it, Gasoon?
Can you
Yes.
see it in the chat, Gasoon? Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Thank you.
So we have nation and unity and government. We have the word we, collectivity. As a group, we must work together. We have we, another we, together, not alone. We have created, thought, concept, and idea. We have nation, a large body of people united by common decent. We have dedicated, working together for a purpose. Oh, so many good words.
Yes, yes. Well, thank you so much for engaging and participating in the word cloud. And you could see it's kind of fun. It's an easy way to engage students for sure, and to promote English language learners and ABE's success in understanding and predicting a text. Next slide, please. Okay, so with the word cloud, all students can participate. And scaffolds are easily available for lower language or proficient students. And here are some ways that you could use scaffolding in word cloud use. And yes, so the next slide, please. Thank you from Region 1. We loved ESL, SIA, and growing our relationships closer and getting to know each other and the rest of the United States with their ESL teachers. So thank you.
And thank you, Team CWI. I sincerely appreciate you participating in the training and then sharing the activities and the information that you learned in this session. I was able to participate a little bit with you, but you were the ones on the ground with the boots doing the work, and you just did a fabulous job. And thank you for sharing all of that information. And just remember that anyone who would like to use these types of training tools in your classroom, please feel free to reach out to Gasoon or Liz or Ryan or Christine to kind of help get you jump started. If you have any questions about how to put that those tools to use in your own classrooms. Sometimes it's a lot of information, and maybe just picking one to start and then building on that particular one that really spoke to you. And adding them one at a time can be, one way to do that. And you can reach out at different times to anyone on CWI's group here, team, to get that information. They put in a lot of effort and a lot of work to participate and pull their presentation together afterwards. So thank you, Liz. Thank you, Gasoon. Thank you, Ryan. And thank you, Christine. I appreciate all your effort. Thank you again to Polly for presenting on s'mores. Again, please reach out to Polly if you would like to start a newsletter or change your newsletter to s'mores. I know she will be more than happy to answer any questions. She's been using it for a while and is quite comfortable with it. And she can give you some tips and tricks as you are getting it up and running in your program. So I'm going to open up the floor now for anyone who has questions for either Team CWI, if someone's thought of a question for Polly, or anything in general. April, I know, had to jump off because she had another obligation, but if you have questions for April, I will send the slide deck out this afternoon. Please feel free to email her with questions about that. And please begin to start setting up your own Access Indiana account so you can become familiar with Access Indiana, and then you can comfortably help your students get an Access Indiana account, Access Indiana account, so that they can use that virtual client engagement to reach out to Work One, so that in their local area, so that they can get additional supportive services. Many of our students not only need the trainings that we provide, but possibly other trainings as well. Work Ones can provide supplemental resources, such as if a person is beginning a welding program and they need the protective gear. Work One sometimes has a pool of funds that they can use to help someone entering that particular field. Because they can't enter that field without that protective gear. So they have additional resources that we at Adult Education may not be able to provide for our students. So if you have a student who is needing additional supportive services in any realm or any format, please find time to in your class with your students to get them an Access Indiana account, and then take them to the virtual client engagement so they can reach out in a comfortable setting in your classroom to begin their contact with the Work One, so that those additional resources can be made available to those students. Any questions or comments, feel free to turn your camera on, unmute yourself, and to speak up if you have any questions for Polly or Team CWI, or for any of the state team. I believe several of the state team have joined us today as well. Okay, I think we are at the end. Thank you, Polly, again, and Liz, Ryan, Christine, and Ghassan. I appreciate all of your time and effort to come and present for us today. Our next professional development facilitator meeting will be June. The May meeting was going to fall over the long holiday weekend, and I prefer not to have people come in on their day off if they absolutely have a long weekend planned. And I had a feeling that it would just be myself and the presenters that day. So I decided we would just wait and have our next one in June, just because I'd like to have everyone in attendance that likes to come. And if you have long weekend plans, you know, it might be difficult to attend in May. So keeping that in mind, we will meet June 23rd virtually again at 10 a.m. And thank you again, everyone, for joining us, and have a wonderful weekend. And we will see you soon. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.